Hi, Matt. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Is it still a good time for you and I to connect?
Yep, this is a good time.
Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to Vicurious. If you guys didn't hear my previous episode of my phone getting pickpocketed and then resold back to me, go check it out. In today's episode, I go through the struggle of looking for a job. And I've been through this whole process before, but let me tell you, it's still a huge struggle. So I'm in San Francisco and I'm burning through cash at a really fast rate. I'm buying every single meal here, and with just the exchange rate, there's already a 30% premium. But not only that, I'm now paying rent of around $40 a day. And I think to myself, okay, I have to find a way to start making money. And the first thing I turned to was getting a job. I was looking for a career in 3 different areas, either project management, sales, or data analytics. Preferably, I wanted to be in the tech space, but I knew I couldn't be picky because, well, I didn't have a job. But regardless, I decided to take a stab at it anyways. So while I was still in Canada, I tried to do a lot of mock interviews with quite a few of my friends.
Howdy. So sorry, man.
Yo, what's going on? All good.
I'm actually just getting crushed today. Like, every time you call, I'm just pulled into another meeting, another conversation.
Is this still a good day to call? Like, are you pretty busy today?
No, it's fine. Like, it was just the morning has been pretty busy, but I've got some time now.
Okay, cool.
What are you up to?
Just interview practice, and then, yeah, that's actually pretty much it.
So just to give you some perspective, I did mock interviews with around 8 different people, and most of them were mock interviews before I even had an actual interview lined up, and I've done multiple interviews with each person. I personally think that this is one of the most important steps in getting a job, and I'm actually very fascinated by the number of people that just don't do mock interviews with their friends or even their family.
So, how's your weekend? Walk me through your resume. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? So can you tell me a little bit more about what interests you about startup culture, knowing that it's very, very different?
And so on and so forth. There are an endless number of questions, and there's no way you can think of all this without asking other people for help. Now, some of these questions I thought I answered pretty well, and some of them not so great.
And that is where my passion for entrepreneurship takes place, where my passion is for creating these new innovative ideas or solutions to really challenge the current marketplace and really change the current status quo to find new solutions that better fit individual needs. So as a result of that, one reason, or a few reasons why, I fucked that part up. And as a result of that, there are 3 main reasons, because with this role, number 1.
Wow, that was an absolute train wreck. Even listening back to that is very embarrassing for me. That was honestly a really bad way of saying I like innovative solutions for interesting problems. Honestly, I'm just an example of someone who's not naturally a good interviewer, but I put in hours and hours of work into mock interviews because I know that it's very, very important and it's something that I need to improve upon. Now, during all this practice, I remember that there was one question that I wasn't quite so sure about. So I decided to ask my friends.
Like what a lot of these, at least the startup companies that I've done interviews with, they'd literally be like, hey man, yeah, so how's your weekend or something. I'm like, oh shit, is that a question? Is that like a casual question? Like, I don't know. So I'm like, it sounds too casual, so then I just kind of answered pretty high level. And then like all of a sudden the interview's over, I'm like, yo, fuck, that was an actual question. And then I kind of got nailed.
Right. Okay, so in terms of the weekend question,
yep.
Obviously I've never been asked that.
Yeah.
I just feel like at these startup places, I feel like they just want more of like a casual answer. Like I noticed how you were trying to say, you organize this and you did that.
Yeah.
And you were trying to make it somewhat professional and show some sort of skills, but if it's a startup like culture, like I don't really think they want that.
Mm.
And I think they just want like a candid answer, but like what was up, like what was your weekend? And I would even maybe at the end of it ask, like, what about yourself? How was yours?
True.
If you really want to make it a conversation,
Yeah.
and avoid it from being like an interrogative interview, like I think at that moment it'd be fair to ask like, hey, like ask them the question as well.
Oh, that's a good point. True.
I think when you do interview practices by yourself, it's very easy to start overthinking. Like, was my answer too long, or was the way I said it too simplified? And having those friends or peers to bounce those ideas off of, it really helps you hone in on what the right approach is. And honestly, I really appreciate my friends for helping me out. Because without them, not only would I still be bad at interviews, I wouldn't even realize that I was bad at them, which is way scarier. So if I can give one piece of advice from this podcast episode, it'd be to do as many mock interviews as you can when you're looking for a new job. So when I landed in San Francisco, I started looking for jobs in a variety of places, including AngelList, Indeed, Hired, Seek, and I even tried the LinkedIn Premium trial, making sure to indicate that yes, I was looking for new opportunities. But honestly, it was really tough. Not only was it hard to get the actual job, I was coming from Canada, so I needed a separate working visa. Now, luckily, there's something called a TN visa that makes it easier for Canadians to work in the US, but every time I would even mention the word visa, the interviewer would automatically assume that I needed something called the H-1B visa, which was much more expensive and difficult to get. So almost right off the bat, as soon as they heard me say that, I'd be cut. So while I was looking for these jobs, I thought to myself, why don't I try to look for jobs that let me work for cash? Under the table, like a waiter or something. So I asked one of my good friends who actually lives in San Francisco what he thought about that.
Sorry?
It'd be under the table.
Oh, like cash?
Yeah.
If they caught you, you wouldn't be allowed back in the country for 10 years.
For 10 years?
I wouldn't. I would advise against it, largely, like I said, because of, if you get caught, 10 years is not worth it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
Stay away from it.
I would stay away from it if by all means possible.
So according to my friend, if I get caught working under the table for cash, I run the risk of being banned from the US for 10 years. Now, I didn't actually look too much into the negative repercussions of this, but just a quick Google search shows a bunch of potential risks. Some of them included things like jail time or massive fines. And honestly, just by looking at that, it wasn't worth it. Worst comes to worst, I'd have to leave the country. Which led me to think about another possible alternative. Moving to Australia. Now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that I'm going to give up on my San Francisco dream right away. It just means that I'm going to keep my options open. Might as well continue to apply in the city, but also start applying to jobs in an exotic place like Australia. Like, who knows what I'll learn if I move to a place like that. So, as of right now, nothing lined up, but continuing to apply to as many places as possible, not limiting myself to the US. So, some special shoutouts for today's episode. I want to thank my friends Natul and Salman, two out of my many friends who helped me for my mock interviews and agreed to let me use their recording in my podcast. I also want to thank my friend Peter, who gave me tips on moving to the US as well as getting a job here and advised me not to work under the table. And lastly, thanks again to Scott Holmes for letting me use his music. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you next time.